Alright, so let's have a listen to what we've got first. We've got the intro melody, which is pretty simple, but it's there for you to expand, and then we've got the main melodic sequence. Picture with that one, and then we go onto the main melodic sequence here. Okay, so that's what we're going to be making today. If you want to know what the sounds are, I've labelled the 3 synths that we're using. So we're using Serum Big Trance Leads, Vital Trance Leads and Vital Trance Plucks, all available on the website and always in the link in the description. Okay, so I'm going to copy one of these over here. I'm going to use this one because it's got a little bit more body in the layering section, and I'm going to then delete that. So create a new MIDI clip. And we're working in D sharp major. So I've got the scale assistant on so you can see everything in green is in the right key, everything in yellow or orange, should we say, are in the wrong key, so they're not in that key. It's an easy way to spot where your melodies are going wrong, and if your DAW has that feature, then great, start using it a lot more and you'll start to learn how keys work better. So just so you can see, just for a second, the D sharp major scale, that's one, sorry. And then C, D, or should we say C sharp, there. So that is our scale right back up to the D sharp, which is really an E flat. So how I created that melody is I played it on a keyboard, and there is no secrets. I just played it on a keyboard and it sounded good, so I kind of expanded from that idea. So the way that my brain tends to work is I'll start with a root note, just to kind of have somewhere to start, and then I'll look for the half steps. And you can see the first half step starts on G, and then we have an A flat, a B flat, and then we have a C. And you can see they're all whole tones, they're whole, and then this is a half where they're right next to each other. So we have 2 half steps in this key, and I tend to gravitate towards those like so. And that's what that sounds like initially. So that is the first part of the sequence there. That just repeats and repeats till the second bar, or should we say the third bar, but really the second bar in terms of melody. And that just repeats there over through to that third bar, which I class as a second bar because it just kind of repeats the same thing until that point. So let's move this over. And I wanted to hear how this moves. So then to separate that out, I could hear that it needed to rise up a little bit with leaving sort of the root note in place. So I just shifted it to the G sharp, so the last note in this section, and then moved it to the next note in the scale, which just happened to be the B flat there. And you can hear that's a natural progression. It sounds smooth, just normal, nothing too drastic, and obviously the bass is going to change how that moves. Now for this one, I wanted to return to the half step. Obviously having the D sharp in place, when I actually used the bass that I actually used in the end, it didn't sound right. So I opted for something that was going to be sort of logical in the next step if I was moving up the scale here. So obviously a B flat or a C. And I opted for C because that sounds better. And here it just seems to flow naturally, and it doesn't matter if we're repeating them first 2 half steps there, it just works nicely. And you can see how easy this is. It's just a case of I'm playing it on keyboard rather than kind of drawing this in, but this is still my sort of same logic that I'd apply. So then for the fourth and final part, so the last 2 bars of the 8 bars, we need to move away from these half steps. So I just simply knocked it down. And then obviously this is out of key, so I just moved it down 1 more, and that is our final bit. And I did that on the computer. I didn't actually play that. I kind of got the first 3 parts, had to get it down before I actually forgot it, and then that bit I drew in at the end. So that was the final part. So we have this in total. Okay, so I'm going to remove the scale there now, and what we can simply do is just copy this over. Now the pattern here is on the beat and then off beat on that second beat. And then we go to on beat for the last bit. And then to obviously get that sort of like jumping feeling, we just repeat that, which then obviously breaks that cycle. Let's remove that. It breaks that cycle of having that gap there. So on the beat, half beat, on the beat, and then it's on the beat again, when really it should be half beat, on beat, half beat again. But it breaks the cycle and it just sounds a lot nicer. I'm just going to get rid of the automation for now, so I'll just turn off read. I'm going to turn off any editing that I've done, so I think it's the leads bus. I'm just going to turn them off so you can hear the raw sound. Okay, so that's working nicely. Let's put in the bass note so you can see exactly what I've done. Okay, so I haven't started on the root note here for this one. I've actually started on C. So let's bring this down, and I'm really looking for the gaps here. So this note fills 2 spaces, so 2/16, essentially an 8th note, and these are 16ths. So I just want to fill in the 2 gaps there. You can hear that's going to come in, and because we've muted this, let's just get rid of that automation there. Yeah, so you can hear them 2 notes come in just nicely there. And I'm going to fill the next 2 gaps in, just copy them over. You can see there's no gaps at this point. So then again here and here. And that's going to repeat all the way through. So we have a C, and then we have a flat. So let's put that there. And I thought that sounded better than putting it on the D sharp there. Or should we say the E flat? It just didn't have the same power, so going back to that A flat, it just sounded more progressive and just give it a little bit more bite. Then I used an F, if I remember correctly. And you can hear that elevates it up a little bit more. Instead of that continuing to drop in the octaves down here, I've chosen to go an octave higher to kind of elevate it and uplift it out of sort of going down and sounding a bit boggy. So that sounds a lot better that way, in my opinion. The final part, straight away in my head, I heard that we needed to have sort of a half-step drop at the end. So it was a choice between using the first 2 notes here, the G and the A flat. Which way around did I use them? And obviously I used them this way around for this particular track. But you could use it the other way around if you wanted to, depending on how you want it to feel. It's up to you how, you'd have to change the context a little bit, but that could work. Okay, so it sounded a little bit smooth. So what I mean, there's not enough syncopation in there because of the longer 8th notes as well. It's just making it sound a little bit smoothed and washed over. And these bass notes sound a little bit out of place. You've got this nice smooth part, and then you've got this really jerky part. So I'm going to turn off the quantized snapping, which is just hitting J on the keyboard in Cubase. I'm just going to bring it back, say, to there. That sounds much better. It just sounds more syncopated and has more energy straight away, especially when you start layering that up. That's pretty much it for the build. The only thing that I added in was some shifts here. So I moved this to C, really just to sort of preempt a higher move. So you can see obviously this moves up this section, and I just wanted to kind of go a bit higher and then come back down. And then the same again with this one. Instead of going to C, I go back to the root note, which is the E flat. Then I think I go back to C again. So I'm just going to put these in place. We'll change them if it's wrong. And then this one, I used exactly what we do in the bass here, but I go upwards. So G to the E flat, or the A flat, sorry. Okay, so that sounds a bit flat, but I think that was the original. We might as well just take a quick look at the original here. So it is the same note, it's C, but it's a lot shorter. You can see there I've put like a C and the A flat in there. So let's just replicate that in ours. You can see I've just swapped these around, C, the A flat. Much better, and it just takes the edge off the fact that it's just repeating that same section from the beginning, because it is exactly the same at that point, apart from that lower third note there. Okay, so then if we just copy them to the other two layers that I've chosen, you can hear how that's going to sound. I'm just going to turn this down for a second. So that has a lot more impact with the phaser turned down a little bit, and the fact that we've just switched that note round there, it just sort of breaks the mold of how that is flowing, and just, I don't know, it takes the listener away from hearing repetition. It just breaks that a little bit and generates a little bit more of an interest in the melodic sequence. Okay, so let's look at the starting melody. I'm going to copy this over to here and just get this bit. And if we delete this, that first melodic sequence that we hear here is really just derived from the first part of the main sequence, or the main melodic area. I'll quickly show you how I made that, just so you can generate your own ideas and obviously then expand on that. What I do is I get rid of this. I'm going to work in twos. I'm going to get rid of everything on the bottom. And then this, so I can see exactly what I'm trying to do. I want to create a seesaw effect, which is just eighth notes rocking back and forth, and I want these changes in there, and that's all come from that first part of the sequence. So I'm going to bring that to there. Let's just make everything the same length. That. And let's just copy them over. Right, these. We want one bar of this, one bar of that, but the last one jumps up to the C, just to break that a little bit and just give it something more interesting to listen to. And obviously you can expand on this. This is a very simple concept. And then just start adding in the extra bits, so we can start adding the kick and the hats, just to get an idea of how it's going to sound. You're noticing that first part, it's not as audible as that. That's because we've got a lot more side chain to sort of compensate for the fact that it's very simple and sits a little bit too hard on the top of the track. Opens up at that part like we just heard there, so then it introduces it sort of gradually across so many bars. And there we have it. That brings us to the end of this video. And with that said, if you have any questions about what you've seen in this video, let me know down in the comments, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.